What you're about to hear from Kalani Sitake is the ultimate coach speak and spin about his quarterback situation.
As far as right now, they're all still in contention to play this Saturday. So until we practice and get a look at them, no one's been taken off. Right now is today. Everyone's still available to play.
Kalani Sitake, the head coach at BYU.
A lot of ums in there, bud.
Now, what I'm going to tell you is that we've nailed this pretty well. We've had a good couple of weeks here with BYU, right? We happen to know some people there. From what I'm told, Baylor Romney is not going to play Saturday. He is out, and he is not dressed for practice this week so far. Jaren Hall is dealing with multiple injuries and is, from what I understand, very limited. And it depends on who you believe. I talked to 3 people yesterday. 2 of them said he took limited reps. One of them said he took no reps and that he wasn't throwing the ball because there are rumors that he's got a shoulder issue to go along with this upper, lower, medium, middle of the rib cage thing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Jaren Hall's not healthy. And I don't think there's any way that he gets cleared to play football on Saturday against Boise State. I think I think there is no doubt in my mind at this point. I know it's Wednesday morning at 10 to 7 here in the Mountain Time Zone. I don't think there's any way that anybody but Jacob Conover starts this game for BYU. And I think that's because you're dealing with a situation where you have a guy in Baylor Romney who's got a concussion. He has not practiced yet this week. You're dealing with a guy in Jaren Hall who is limited and dealing with multiple injuries. And we know one thing about Kalani Sitake and BYU football, they're not going to risk anybody's health to play a football game. And whether it's ribs or a rotator cuff / shoulder, because we've heard he's got a shoulder or rotator cuff injury that he is dealing with, I don't know. I don't know what the actual injury itself is, and nor does it matter. What I know is that Jaren Hall's not 100%, and he's nowhere near that. And if he's 50%, you're not going to run him out there against Boise State. You're just not. So my guess is the phenom, the guy that you've waited to serve his mission, the guy who, Saturday night in Logan took his first competitive snaps in 3 years, Jacob Conover, is ready to rock and roll. And I think if you give him the majority of the first team reps and you allow him to prepare this week, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't feel confident about Jacob Conover coming in and doing the job that needs to be done against Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to have the expectations don't change no matter who's playing the position. The expectation is you're going to go out, you're going to run a cohesive offense, you're going to run the football, and you're going to score 25 to 30 points at least. That's the expectation at a minimum, and I think the more I think about this quarterback situation, the more I feel like if you're Kalani Sitake, it doesn't really matter who's playing the position. And I think, if you watch yesterday's show, we talked all about how Conover's got all kinds of opportunity, and he's also got all kinds of risk, playing this game, and you specifically said yesterday that people get one opportunity, or quarterbacks, I should say, get one opportunity in major college football, and that's true, and that's going to be his opportunity this week. I fully believe that. What I also believe is that, I think Jaren will suit up and be in a backup role. I'd be really surprised if he wasn't at least dressed, but I don't think he's going to play. I think that's going to be an escape hatch. That's just my opinion. We haven't heard that from anybody. That's not a source, information thing. That's just my gut feeling based on, the news cycle and what we're hearing about Conover and the situation. So, yeah, I think the expectation doesn't change, and I think that, frankly, BYU, needs to come in here and act like it's business as usual, because I think that's the best thing for the football team. I think if you go into this game and you're like, we got a quarterback controversy, or we've got a young guy in Conover playing the position, and so we're not going to be at our best, well, then you're not going to be at your best. But if you just hold him to a standard, which is, you're probably 70% completion percentage, you're probably 25 attempts throwing the football, like that kind of stat line, then I think you'll be fine. And that's what I think they need to do. And I understand and respect the fact that Kalani's got to say everyone's got an opportunity, but that's just not the case. And anybody telling you that Jaren Hall or Baylor Romney has an opportunity to play this week, it just it isn't plugged in, because if that were the case, then we wouldn't see Conover running with the ones in practice.
I think Jaren's got a chance to dress as the backup here, or certainly be the third. I think you're going to see him in pads on Saturday. I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the wise move, because you should, if Jacob Conover plays, you should be able to beat Boise. This is a team that does not do well against the run. Now, again, they have a prolific quarterback that throws the ball deep. And that is certainly something that, hey, you got to get that secondary healthy and playing well, or playing better than you saw against Utah State. But I think if you play Jacob Conover and Tyler Algier and the backs do their job, this team's going to win this game. And I will again say Harris LaChance is the biggest guy that you're missing. If in fact it is true that he is his foot, lower leg, ankle thing injury is more significant than we know, that's the injury you should be paying attention to, because the depth that you currently have at quarterback is not certainly your biggest problem. I think your injuries are piling up on the offensive line. And when you have guys the caliber and the quality of Tyler Algier, you want to make sure that offensive line is good to go. And frankly, when your number one and your number two quarterback are not available to you and you're playing Conover, if that's what happens Saturday, I think you really want your best available offensive linemen, certainly at your tackle positions. You want those guys able to play the game. And so, to me, the Harris LaChance injury, how long is he out? Because he's not going to play this weekend. How long is he out? Who's going to be available in Waco against Baylor? That's the biggest question. That's the biggest concern to me. Now, having said all that, let's really make sure we don't get ahead of ourselves, because you got to go out and you got to beat Boise State on Saturday at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. I can't say it normally.
Who would want to say it normally?
It's almost like they
play on a
like
Smurf field.
A tick. It's like a blue turf thing. Anyway, the point is, you got to win the game against Boise, and I think they'll do that. So today, what I tell you, and based on what I'm told, Baylor Romney will not play Saturday. I think Jaren Hall, your best possibility there is that he's a 2 or a 3 Saturday. And I have no doubt, I would bet the house that Jacob Conover trots out of that tunnel and is under center when BYU takes the field on Saturday against Boise. And if that is truly, in fact, the case, I feel good about it. I'm not that. What's your level of confidence if Conover starts that they win?
I mean, probably like 60%. I would say. I think
60%.
I think Conover's turnover prone because he hasn't played a lot, and I think that there's no doubt that Boise State is a rival. There's no doubt that Boise State is going to come after whoever's back there, and I think that while Conover will be prepared, certainly, I also think that there's no practice rep that is going to amount or equal the feel of an all-out zero blitz coming to get you. And where are you going with the football? You going to the flat? You going to the quick slant? Where are you going? And those are the things that I want to see. And I think that yes, he's capable of making those decisions, but I just can't get away from the fact that this kid hasn't started a game in years. How do you get around that? How do you just simply skip over that and think you're going to be fine? Well, you don't. You have to understand that this game is probably going to be a game where BYU turns it over at least one time. That would not surprise me. So Boise State is going to get an extra possession at least, and depending on when and where that happens, it could impact the game. So, I know you believe in Conover. You think that he's going to be perfectly fine. I don't. I think he needs to prove that.
I don't think here's a couple of things. I totally disagree about the turnovers. I think Jacob did a really good job against Utah State not turning the ball over. I think historically through high school, turnovers were not something he struggled with. He was a prolific passer of the ball. And generally when you play at that high level, when you are one of the most highly recruited quarterbacks in the country, generally they're going to hand you the football and you're going to go kick everybody's ass. Now, as you said, he needs to do that. I think it was a little shocking that he got into the game against Utah State. I think the first couple of possessions, he was just getting his nerves under control. I think that this is completely different against Boise State. And I say that because you're giving him an entire week as the number one guy. You're giving him an entire week of the majority of the number 1 reps. To me, that puts you in a much better mindset. That puts you in a much better place, confidence-wise, belief-wise, that you know what you're doing and what, in this case, Boise State's trying to do to you. Because those are the 2 most important things. I don't worry about Jacob Conover having command of the playbook because, frankly, I think he's got command of the playbook. I don't worry about the basics of football when you're as talented and you've gotten to where Jacob Conover is. You're not lazy. You don't forget to study your playbook. He knows the playbook. The question is, what will we see early? What will the first 10 plays be like for Conover? How many scripted throws to get him comfortable will we see? I'm hoping we see 5 or 6. And I'm hoping that we see him go 6 of his first 7, 7 of his first 9. That's what you need to see. And you need to turn around and hand the ball off to your best player, Tyler Algier, a heavy dose early in this football game to set up play action, which is only going to give Conover more time and space. That's the clear, in my mind, that's the clear and obvious path forward to make him comfortable and to get the most out of your offense against Boise State.
Yeah, and I think you, at the end of the day, again, no matter who's back there, when you go on the road, whether it's Boise State or Baylor or whoever, you always want to get off to a nice start on your first couple of possessions. So I wouldn't be surprised if they scripted those first, like you were just saying, those first like 10 to 15 plays. That wouldn't be surprising. And I think that, my hope is that they score on the first possession, put it in the end zone, get the momentum going, and have a nice day.
Is Boise State a rival? This is a conversation that I find it interesting that so many people view Utah State. You view those teams as your rivals. I view Boise State not as a rival, but as a significant opponent. There's a lack of respect between BYU and Utah State. I don't think that there's a BYU fan on earth that fears Utah State. I think there's a lot of fans who wonder about the outcome of this game. And I'm curious if I don't look at it as a rivalry, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Boise State is a team that they're like that team that everybody knows because of the football field color, but nobody actually knows who they are. And they're that team that you hear about winning a game that they shouldn't win, right? But nobody actually knows who the hell the quarterback is, or who their best player is, or what their defense is capable of, or who's on the injured list for the rest of the year. Nobody knows anything about that with Boise State, mainly because they don't need to know, because Boise State is just good enough to be a problem, but not good enough to win anything. That's the truth of the matter. And so again, with this, when, if you wind the clocks back and we go back to before week 1, before you played, what was that, Arizona in week 1, and we're looking at this schedule and we're like, okay, well, you got to get to Baylor undefeated. This is just another, Boise State this year is just another box that you need to check. However, they are a team that you play consistently year in and year out. And that's why I think when BYU is, what are they, 5-0 right now? When BYU is 5-0, yeah, you're gonna ratchet up the energy when you go on the road against a smaller team like Boise State. They're gonna be looking to wreck your season, just like everybody else.
Paul would like to know what I've done to you to piss you off today.
I don't think we need to talk about it.
You're not very happy.
No, I'm not very happy, but it's life. Things happen,
Jeez. Spencer Smith says, Jake, we still love you.
It's fine.
Tanner says, like it or not, football is king.
Yeah, and that's the truth, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. My point with that was just that when you look at what's going on in the sports landscape, I think that we as sports fans can't be like, well, it's Yankees, Red Sox, and we got that 16 other times this year, so that means this game is going to be the same as every other game, which is not the truth. That's just not the truth. In the postseason, we all loved, like, if you go back 10 years, and you, or maybe it was longer than that, geez, the Aaron Boone home run when they were playing the Red Sox, that's one of the greatest moments in Major League Baseball history. But we just don't appreciate Yankees Red Sox now because it's on ESPN constantly.
Yeah, we get burned out on it, no doubt. Yeah. Jesse Fawcett says, yes, baseball's lame. BYU fan CJ says, I got burned out on baseball as an 80s and 90s kid. My family always had it on, but it's fun to watch in person. I love watching baseball.
And that's the other dynamic, It's like it's a great in-person product. It's like, like hockey as an example. you're never going to hear us talking about hockey on the show unless someone died on the bench and came back to life. Like you're not going to hear hockey on this
Wow.
show. Well, it's happened before. It's happened several times before.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember his name in Dallas, but
Yeah, I know what you
like
mean.
that level of story in hockey is when hockey gets brought up. But the truth is, we all love hockey. I've never met a person, even if they don't know the rules, who doesn't enjoy going to a hockey game because it's super fun.
Yeah.
It's super enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brylark says, is Boise State the last pucker game for BYU the rest of the season, as long as they can keep the quarterback situation at least stable? No. BYU's schedule is far from done. You have Boise this week, Baylor after that, Washington State. When does Bronco and Virginia come to? That's like Halloween. And then you've got the last game of the year is
You got
USC.
Boise State, Baylor, Washington State, Virginia, Idaho State, Georgia Southern, and then SC.
Yeah. Oof.
So to answer the question, I mean, the only real games that I would be concerned about, if that's how we're trying to phrase the question, is obviously Baylor. They should beat Washington State. They should. I don't think they'll struggle to beat them. Virginia is interesting to me, not because Virginia is better than you, but because of Bronco and everything that's going on.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of
The
emotion
drama.
there, the drama. So maybe that's kind of an issue, but I still feel like that's a game that they should handle. Idaho State, Georgia Southern, okay, that's obvious. And then SC. So really, it's Baylor and SC that are going to keep you, either put you into the college football playoff or are going to keep you out of the college football playoff.
Well, and the hard thing for me and the thing that stands out is you don't have a bye week until November.
Yeah.
Like, the train just keeps rolling down the tracks.
Well, and it's what you always say, though.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
not?
well-
Like, your depth chart is what it is, and that's why the bottom 20 guys on your roster will decide your fate.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. So, no, this is not the last pucker week, Brylark. Yeah. Tanner says he's 45% confident in Conover.
Yeah,
I'm way
overconfident and
overvaluing
confident.
him then.
No, you're not. I don't think you're overvaluing him, because I think there's a difference between valuing a guy and being realistic about the guy, right? Value would be, hey, this is one of the highest recruiter, most recruited high school prospects. This guy's got a cannon for an arm. He came in a quarter and a half last week or whatever that was, and did a nice job. Right, but I also think like being overconfident in the guy would be saying, well, he's going to be fine this week. We don't have anything to worry about. I just don't think we can say that yet because we haven't seen it yet. Yes, he has the talent. Yes, he has the arm. Yes, he should know the entire playbook. There shouldn't be any limitations there. But at the same time, you got to see it. He's got to prove it. And I think people are a little nervous to use Tanner's or whoever that was. You're puckering a little bit because you're playing a guy who hasn't started in 3 years, and you're on the road at Boise State. I mean, that on a surface level, if you just applied that to any program, you're like, okay, this is going to be an adventure, to say the least.
Absolutely.
But when you dig into it, you're like, all right, this kid can really throw the football. Theoretically, he should be fine. So to me, my honest opinion is I think you got to get through the first quarter and leave the first quarter up by 10 points. And if that happens, you're going to be super comfortable in this game.
Wow, Ace is back, and he's apologizing.
Whoa.
So for those of you who don't know, and well, screw you for using vanishing mode, Ace. Ace is a pretty loyal listener who melted down. What did he melt down about the other day?
Biden and Trump and vaccines. And,
Vaccines. He said I
mean,
was judging people. Because of the Kyrie Irving,
the Kyrie,
Andrew Wiggins conversation we
which
had about
Andrew Wiggins,
vaccines.
thank you for taking the vaccine, and Kyrie, don't feel sorry for you. Just to put that out there.
So Ace, a loyal listener, melted down. He's been blocked by YouTube. So he created a new account that I think he also is timed out on for his wife. He literally called himself Ace's wife's YouTube account. And then he blocked us and said he was never coming back because we judge people who don't get the vaccine. Well, Ace just sent an apology message and said, I'm back. And he said, I'm back, MFers. And it's like, okay, welcome back. We're always glad you're here. By the way, if you're here right now, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Liking our videos really helps the channel grow. And again, we are meteorically rising. We're less than 100 away from giving away the Traeger Smoker. And they're shortly after this Xbox Series S sitting on the table.
Yeah, and by the way, if the 650 is not available, we'll get you a nicer one.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
hook it
get
up.
you.
Like,
Well,
we'll
don't
figure it
worry.
out.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
you'll get a really nice Traeger Smoker.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to question whether, like if the 650 is not available. And for those of you who aren't sure of the model line and all that, just Google it. They have a whole.
By
like,
the
a
way,
whole
or
range.
down in the description, there is a link to the Traeger Smoker that
Yeah.
we have. So
Yeah.
check that out. James Knight says Jake's a frustrated virgin. It's normal human behavior. Give him a break.
No, it doesn't have anything with my doesn't have anything to do with my sex life, my guy.
I actually think it is. I
Okay.
actually think it does.
Okay.
Haven't cared about Boise State since the 2007 Fiesta Bowl, Brylark said.
Right. So that's my point. Thank you, Brylark. That's what I'm saying. Nobody cares about Boise until BYU or some other team is 5 or 6-0 heading to Boise.
Okay. Brandon James says, I'm a diehard Coug, and I don't view Boise State as a rival. Neither do I. I don't view them as a rival
Kalani
either.
does.
Yeah?
Kalani does. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, do you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do.
Here's
Kalani
Kalani Sitake talking about Boise State.
This is a rivalry game for us where it's something that we're familiar with, seeing all these guys on the field again and them returning. And I think they have, Bachmeier's a really good quarterback. He's efficient. He knows how to spread the ball out, and he has great targets to throw to. He can also run. He's athletic. You put that with all the receivers that they have, the tight ends, big targets. They have a core of running backs that can run the ball. A number of them. I think like 4 guys that we looked at that are guys that are going to get carries.
Kalani Sitake, the head coach at BYU, talking about Boise State. I don't view him as a rival. Brockmeyer can throw the football. That's a kid that's breaking records up there, so be ready for that. Josh Lovren says, Boise State and BYU have only played 11 times. I thought they played more than this. Series is 7-4 for BSU. Yeah, that's a good point. Spencer Morgan's, comment up, my bad. Spencer Morgan says, wow, great job on the comments today. Baseball is great. I always assume people who hate it were the kids growing up who were too dumb to play baseball and got stuck in soccer. Now, I'm a guy who's played baseball my entire life, even as an adult.
Right.
I'm done with Yankees Red Sox. I'm over it. That's where I'm at on it. Brandon James says Virginia and Baylor and USC are scary. They all are.
Yeah.
Brandon Whiteside says irrelevant sports pecking order: soccer, golf, hockey, baseball. Soccer's not irrelevant.
See, but here's my thing. This is my question for you as someone who is an avid soccer fan or English Premier League fan, as you like to call it. How is it that you can be so intrigued by a meaningless Chelsea match against Everton, let's say, and Yankees Red Sox postseason winner take all game just means nothing? It's not compelling. Doesn't matter. You're too busy shredding paper last night. How does that happen?
Because I think when you look at Chelsea Football Club that's been 20 years of fandom for me. That I look at the way that we're all different. I'm passionate about English Premier League soccer. I am. I'm a passionate baseball fan. I just hate the Yankees and the Red Sox. I don't hate baseball. I really don't. So it's not as though I'm saying I hate baseball.
No, I'm not
I just
saying
don't
that.
find that game compelling. It was over. I think the final score was 6-2. By the way, Evaldi's a dominant postseason pitcher. So as soon as they went up 3-0 or whatever it was, that game was over. And the Yankees the Yankees routinely make outs on the bases. They led the major league. They led the major leagues in getting thrown out at home. They made the most mistakes all year on the bases.
22 outs at home plate.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Spencer Smith says, we need Matt Payne back for this Boise game. Jeez, there's a name from the past, right? Kay Newren says, BYU football, just win, baby. Spencer Morgan says, plenty of opportunities for losses left on BYU's schedule. Yes, exactly right. Tanner Plummer says, Ace is the place for the helpful hardware, folks. Ace is going to appreciate that.
It's quite simple, so I don't know why motherfuckers be overcomplicating.
Yeah, don't be overcomplicating them, man. Spencer Morgan also says, too much Kool-Aid drinking on an unproven QB recruit. Maybe it's just the Utah fan in me because I've seen them ruin so many good recruits. I just think that Jacob Conover he's that guy that's on a different level. I mean, when you're recruited by pretty much every major football program in the country, your talent and ability is unquestioned.
We'll see.
Now, to your point, Krabby ass.
Yeah.
Now he needs to take the football and run with it.
Yeah.
He needs to take over this offense, because I'm telling you now, if he comes out and what's best case scenario? Let's get just crazy.
In the game or like in the first quarter?
Jacob Conover comes out, throws for 400 yards, 5 scores, runs for another 50 and a score.
25 or 35, 400 yards, 1 on the ground.
He's never going to be a backup quarterback again. If he comes out and dominates Boise State, how are you going to take the football from him?
Yeah.
What's worst case scenario? Well, he comes out, they can't throw the football. Boise stacks the box. At the half, it's, the game is 7-6, Boise State. That's worst case scenario right there. So we'll see. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. I have no problem seeing Jacob Conover throw for 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. And I have no problem thinking Tyler Algier is going to run for 200 yards and probably 2 more scores. No problem with that at all. I think BYU is going to comfortably win this game, as we'll give you the lock on Friday, but I think this is a comfortable win for BYU. I think they are significantly bigger and more athletic than Boise State is prepared for.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I would agree.